Xiaomi has shipped 100 million smartphones in India. They hit the 100 million mark. And they haven't even been doing it for that long. So we're talking about the Walkman starting in 1979, having its 40th anniversary, and they moved 200 million units. Xiaomi in 5 years in India alone has moved 100 million units, to give you an idea of the scale difference and just the importance and significance of smartphones, the smartphone marketplace, and so forth. Now, the history here, I've talked about this in the past. Xiaomi has been crazy aggressive in India, launching brick and mortar stores, starting online and then moving into brick and mortar stores. And their aggressiveness mostly comes down to them trimming their margins to the bare minimum necessary to break into this marketplace, dominate, and then hold on to their position. Most of the devices they sell have a price tag below $200, but the company says it never makes more than 5% profit on any hardware it sells. That's not a lot of profit.
But on 100 million.
I mean, it's a few dollars,
yeah,
no doubt. But Apple would have a good laugh at that profit margin. Mm-hmm. Apple would be like, "Ha, what you guys doing? Kind of business, you 5% margin." You know, Apple didn't mess around with that.
Well, we'll see who's laughing in
who's laughing last
in 20 years.
Yeah, it's an aggressive move, and the competition is obviously heating up. And I've made the argument in the past that all these users, let's say this 100 million that purchased the Xiaomi device, a lot of those are going to be people's first and second smartphones they ever own in India. They're getting locked into Android. They're getting all their apps. They're happy. And are they going to want to transition to Apple at a later date? Is that the aspirational product? Or are they connected enough and happy enough at the lower price tag, or just within the Android ecosystem in general? And will it be too late for Apple in that market specifically? It's possible. Couple of other specs here on this particular article. Shipping 100 million smartphones in India is obviously a remarkable feat. To act as a reference, last year the company shipped 100 million handsets in the year worldwide. So to sort of imagine the significance of the Indian market, in the 5 years since they've been in India, they moved 100 million smartphones just within that country. And over the course of a single year globally, this is a Chinese company. They move plenty of products in China as well. In an entire year globally, they met the same 100 million number. Like, Jack, you know what the population of the United States is?
It's like 380 million.
Somewhere around there. I hear people say 350. Some people say closer to 400. It's somewhere in there. That's 100 million smartphones. If this number took place in the U.S., that's 1 in 3 people got a Xiaomi phone in 1 year. It's a crazy thought when you start going down that path. Now, we all understand there's over 1 billion people in India. I've said it before on this show. And I had a hard time with Willie Doo, getting him to understand. So I'm hoping it's easier with you.
No, I don't understand.
You don't understand 1 billion. You can't picture it.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
You never saw something like that. And you didn't come on that trip to India. And I have to be honest with you, when I was doing a meet and greet, and people were showing me their phones, we were talking about the phones they were using, and I saw so many Xiaomi devices. It was crazy. It was by far the number one that I saw. Xiaomi recently passed Samsung in that market. So this aggressive mindset has worked out really well for them. And it's shaping up to be quite the battle taking place out there for these customers, this growing customer base, and one of the few smartphone markets in the world that's still growing, still healthy, and hasn't cooled off a little bit. So Xiaomi putting a lot of attention in India, and congrats to them. They hit the 100 million smartphone number.